Direi che siamo pronti. Giro ancora un attimo intorno per vedere se siamo pronti. Siete pronti, artisti? Possiamo fare il countdown finale 10, 9, 8, quello lì? Allora, un grosso applauso per tutti gli artisti prima. E direi 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And we have just begun our second round of Art Battle in Genoa, Italy. We have another 6 artists in this qualifying round. The top 2 artists from this round and the top 2 artists from our first round will be moving forward into a 4-artist final showdown. Here we are with Augusto Cesario, and Augusto looks like he is starting with the beginnings of a portrait. Now over to Francesca, and I'm loving this start from Francesca. It's so vibrant already, and when I was checking out Francesca's studio work, there was definitely an abstract meets street art sensibility, so looking forward to how she continues that painting. Now with Simone, and we can see that he is laying down the groundwork for his piece with this super bright golden yellow. And another yellow toned ground here from Luca. I think that this is going to be a popular color this round. And we can see that Luca actually has quite a lot of blue on his palette as well. And this is Valerie, and Valerie looks like she's starting off with a little bit more of a muted palette. And potentially, I think we're getting the groundwork laid out for some landscape art. Maybe getting into that kind of rosy-hued sky. At least that's the way that I'm thinking that it's going so far. And we can really see that Valerie is taking this time to kind of, she's painting, but she's also drawing in a way, kind of creating the guideline for how she's going to be working on top of this painting. And fun fact, Valerie is also a gallery owner in Uptown Graz for a gallery called Uptown Art. Here we are with Fulvio, and it looks like we are also getting another portrait in this round from Fulvio, and similar initial approach to our other portrait that is happening right now. We're getting this use of this grayed out black to establish the first lines, getting into really ensuring that the proportions of the face are correct. And interesting cropping technique here as well from Fulvio. We can see that the face is going to be intentionally cropped almost at the midpoint, maybe cheated over just slightly. So always enjoy seeing how an artist approaches the compositional element of Art Battle. Wow, we have quite a lot going on already from... I think that this is Augusto, and Augusto is working into this portrait, and at one point when he had his head down, I thought that he actually was blindfolded, but we can see now that he can clearly see the canvas. That would be an intense additional level to Art Battle. But Augusto is working into this portrait right now. We've got some really wonderful expressive line work happening in the hair. I love seeing that kind of skittering brushwork where the canvas is starting to come through. There's something about the organicness of a brush dragging against the canvas that I really enjoy. And over here with Francesca, and we're getting treated to this really gorgeous collision of color that is happening on the canvas here. There's quite a lot of water that has been added to the canvas as well, and we can see that that is creating almost a watercolor effect where the paint is really bleeding into each other in this beautiful organic way. And it looks like Francesca is now adding a figure into the center of the canvas. And something about Francesca's work is that she likes to create these scenes featuring strong female characters. And I think with this character appearing in the center of the canvas, with potentially their head tilted downward just a little bit, I think that we're going to get a really majestic expression of this character. Moving over to Simone here, and definitely getting into the warmer tones. So we had that yellow established as the first color that was being layered onto this canvas. Now we have an even warmer, more saturated red being added as well. And we can see that Simone is using the yellow that was underneath the canvas that was underneath this red to kind of create that luminosity and the way that the red and the yellow are playing together. And he's also using very directional strokes, intentionally blending these colors as he goes. We have just about 6 minutes elapsed in this round, so these artists are just past their first quarter of the 20-minute round. Voting is now open at artbattle.com/AB2431, so make sure that you get registered to vote. The top 2 artists from each qualifying round will be moving forward into a third and final showdown of 4 artists. Here we are with Luca, and I'm really enjoying the way this piece is coming together. The contrast of this super, super saturated yellow and the warmth of that yellow is being really cooled down by the usage of this blue. And the way that those colors are playing against each other, there's a really interesting thing happening visually with the tonal effects, the temperature effects, and we can see that Luca is also adding in what I think is going to come about as a swan in the central part of the canvas. That's going to be our focus. And we're having that same white color that's being applied to the swan also appearing as a cloud in the top of the canvas as well. Back with Valerie here, and I was totally wrong. It was not a landscape. We're actually getting an animal portrait. Always so fun at Art Battle to see the way people evolve their paintings and kind of making those initial guesses into how each piece is going to evolve and how that piece reflects the artist's studio work as well. Valerie describes herself as someone who starts in a very abstract place as she's beginning the painting and then really hones it into a figurative or representational piece as she goes. And I think that we're definitely seeing that being expressed here, just from the very loose marks that we initially saw in the first few minutes of Valerie painting, and how it's really coming together here, just layering these shapes, layering these brush marks. Not only do we have what is definitely going to be a big cat, potentially a tiger or a lion or a puma. I think it's probably a lioness, but also the environment behind the lioness too. So really, really stunning piece happening from Valerie already. Back with Fulvio here, and so happy to catch this moment of Fulvio adding in all of this gorgeous black hair. There's that one stroke there that is a little looser, and we can see that kind of negative space of white between that hair so that it's coming off as a little bit of a piece. And I just love the gesture of that. Creates a sense of movement within the painting. Sometimes there are small moments within paintings that can really set them off. And for me, it's that piece of hair. Over to Augusto here. and Augusto working into this portrait as well, and working in a similar character. I feel like Augusto's character and Fulvio's character exist in the same world almost. They both are female characters with black flowing hair and warmer lips, situated in a similar way on the canvas. So I think that's going to draw a very high level of comparison for these two pieces within the audience. So it really is a competition of execution for Augusto and Fulvio here. And Augusto is doing a really fantastic job. And we also have the representation of what I assume is going to be a moon in the top canvas there. Over here with Francesca. And Francesca's character is really evolving in this just beautiful way. She's incorporating so much movement in the clothing of this character. And we can see that it is the back of a woman who appears to be walking away. And you're really getting the sense of movement and sway from the way that Francesca has used these brush marks to convey the movement of the clothing and the hair and that beautiful bow that is just kind of suggested in the hair there as well. And back with Simone, and he is layering more yellow on top of the red. So we went yellow first, addition of red on top, and now we have that extra level of yellow as serving as that kind of highlighting glow right now. Very abstract, quite minimal at this point. And Simone is known for creating in a very abstract way that ultimately leads towards something that is representational. At least that's how he's often expressing in his studio work. So interested to see whether or not Simone stays totally abstract for this piece, or if he chooses to add in some representational elements. We're catching these brush marks moments of Simone laying down a little bit of blue paint here. Oh, and he's got a squeegee going. Love seeing that. We're getting the paint just scraping upward into the canvas. And I think that that's going to be a really dramatic moment of transformation of this piece. Back with Luca here, and this absolutely stunning color palette. I really, really love the very limited colors that he's got going on right now. I think that the play of the temperature is just wonderful. And now Luca has added in this tree into the side of the canvas. And the tree is really reaching upward and definitely creating a focal point within that portion of the canvas. So interested to see whether or not Luca decides to balance that on the other side of the canvas, or if he's using the feathers that are kind of cascading off of the swan here to balance that weight of the branches of the trees. And some really cool technique going on here within the swan, and some interesting ideas being expressed. Looks like the swan is almost like a deconstructed swan at this point. We're seeing a lot of the background through the body of the swan, and that's helping to bring it more into that kind of surrealist space. Back with Valerie here, and wow, this piece is just coming together in such an amazing way. The compositional elements are so strong. I feel like there's so much going on with our big cats over here, and not only do we have a lioness as our forefront character, but we can also see that she's created the profile of a male lion as well. Just this piece is stunning. Back with Fulvio here, and the emotive quality of this piece is really starting to shine through. This character's eyes are very wide open. We're getting the sense of like a mascara running down the cheeks. really potentially catching this character in a place of high emotion, an emotional moment in the life of this character. And it's amazing seeing portraits really coming to life as they're painted. There are certain moments that I think that really help a character or a portrait jump off of the canvas. And that is, for me, a lot of it is in the expression of the eyes. And we're getting some really, really expressive qualities from the eyes in Fulvio's portrait here. And especially in that little hint of a catchlight, the little white dot that is in the pupil of the eye, where you can see that the light is reflecting. That is always one of my favorite parts of a portrait that I really think just sets everything off. So great job to Fulvio there. We have just about 5 minutes remaining in this round. Make sure that you head to artbattle.com/AB2431, the link that is on the screen, to vote for your favorite artists. The top 2 artists will be moving forward into the third and final round and joining our top 2 artists from our first qualifying round. Back with Augusto here, and I have to say I'm really enjoying the additional component of this kind of pinky lavender color on the side of our figure here, just right up against the edge of the canvas. I think that it's adding that brightness and just a little moment of whimsy, because the rest of the canvas is quite heavy in terms of tonal weight and super, super high contrast. So adding a colorful mid-tone is a really cool way to balance that and bring in a different attitude. Back with Valerie here, and again, just so impressed with this piece. I feel like this piece is accomplishing so much in creating a narrative. I feel like we as the audience are following this character into this kind of colorscape world. And I also think compositionally that Francesca has done a really good job of using the canvas to her advantage by creating this smaller character and then creating this colorful environment around her. It's creating a bit of a sense of isolation, but in this really wonderful way. And so she's using composition to express emotion, and I'm very, very impressed with that. Over here with Simone, and Simone has looks like is totally leaning into the abstract, which I'm really appreciating. I like the different textural components that Simone has added now. We have these strikes of white that are just almost like strings that have been added to the canvas and are really just leaping off and kind of creating this focal point here, and are also adding that contrast that I think that this piece needed, acting over top of that blue there, and really creating also a sense of movement. This piece now has this kind of upward trajectory. We have just about 2 minutes remaining on the clock. So these artists are really, really into crunch time now, adding in their final components. And looks like we are still in this surrealist space with this swan by Luca, and I'm really happy that he's kept it that way. I think it's more interesting than creating just a painting of a swan that would be perceived as more regular and tranquil. He's really created some interesting components here with the deconstruction of the body of the swan and the super unconventional color choices. And now we can see that he's adding in these fluffy tree leaves here that are almost reading like clouds that are kind of meshing into the feathers of the swan. So we're really getting into some very interesting territory with Luca in our final moments. Our final minute is here, and we are getting to spend it with Francesca, and just a really stunning piece here. Really, really well balanced, definitely creating that narrative. Absolutely fantastic use of contrast. We have the light very much playing off of the face of the lioness, and then we've got much more silhouetted male lion, and then we have the silhouettes of the trees and the mountains in the background. Just a really fantastic piece overall. Hard to believe that this was accomplished in only 20 minutes. I think that Francesca is going to be, or sorry, Valerie is going to be a tough one to beat.
Enorme a tutti quanti, non ho sentito l'applauso. Possiamo rifarlo, grazie. Bene, adesso con questo voto importantissimo, come quello del primo round, si definisce chi sono gli ultimi 4 candidati dal terzo round. Verranno tolti 2 cavalletti. Avete circa un quarto d'ora tra votare e tornare in sala o rimanere in sala, perché fra un po' ci sarà il terzo round, che sarà il round del vincitore. Il vincitore cosa gli succede? Tanto vince, che è sempre una bella cosa, e poi sarà uno già dei primi che parteciperà alla finale del torneo, perché questo è un torneo. Io ho già fatto 12 gare, quindi da ogni gara è uscito fuori il vincitore, quindi il vincitore di stasera uscirà fuori e gareggerà alla finale. Chi vincerà la finale andrà in uno.
A really amazing second round of art battle in Genoa, Italy today. So many different styles represented in this round. We had quite a lot of abstraction as well, which I always enjoy, and a few very expressive portraits, animal portrait as well, some narrative, figurative action, and just very, very impressed with all of the artists who have painted here today. They definitely have brought their courage and creativity to the easel, and it is not easy to do live painting in front of an audience. And just the performance aspect that we've seen here tonight, I think all of these artists really had the visual output in mind, but also were aware that they are painting for a crowd and have definitely given us a really great show so far. I am so excited for the final, and we will be announcing the winners of round number 1 and round number 2 very shortly, and those artists will be moving forward into our final round. So stay tuned for the winner announcement happening in just a few minutes as the votes pour in. If you have yet to vote, go to artbattle.com/AB2431, the link that is on your screen, and you can cast your vote. And also, all of these pieces are available for silent auction. You can bid on them. We will ship them to you. So if you're falling in love with them as you have watched them being painted and you want to collect them for yourself, make sure that you place your bid at that link as well. Winner announcement coming in just a few minutes, and we will see who our finalists are.